and welcome to the Audacious Path Show, a micro podcast of courage, resilience, and inspiration. I am your host, Andrea Scott Brown. Thank you so much for joining us, where our podcast is perfectly imperfect and frequently infrequent. This pocket-sized podcast is here as an inspirational nugget for you in this moment. Today, we have Dr. Tayo D as a guest on the Audacious Path Show. Dr. Tayo is a women's wellness coach, physician, and best-selling author serving high-performing clients. She is the acknowledged expert when you want to get your sassy back. Welcome to the show, Dr. Tayo.
Thanks, Andrea. I hope your listeners are going to be inspired by what I will share with them.
I am sure that they will. I'm excited to hear more about your story as well. And what I know is that you are going to be talking about two different segments on the Audacious Path Compass. The first about family. And of course, family is super important to our foundation, to creating our foundation for our life. And you're going to talk a little bit about energy and vitality and how that is also something that we want to increase and expand in our life to be able to fulfill what it is that we set out to do in life. So thank you for being here and take it away.
A time I struggled to follow my audacious path was way back when I was in secondary school, which is called, I think, high school in North America. I was in the fourth year, and the exams before then I had basically come second to the last in class, a situation that had never happened before. I was a good student, but I was struggling, and that was the bottom of it all. I was made fun of by pretty much everybody because I was I used to have things not too difficult, but I was just struggling. And why that happened, I pieced it together eventually. It was my parents separating or divorcing, moving to a different city without the rest of my siblings and not being able to contact them or my mother. And so I did what I did best, which was just go on, but being miserable inside, thoroughly miserable. And we don't realize it, but it shows. It shows in the externals, in what we do and in the emotions we have and how we do things. So a message got to my mother that I was miserable. And at the end of that term, she came to collect me. So that day was the end of term. And when she collected me, I only left with the clothes I was standing up in and maybe one or two books. But I left with nothing. No photographs, no other clothes, none of my school books for the past 3 years and a term, nothing. And we were now in the preparatory phase to going to what was called the West African School Certificate. This is all in Nigeria. And I had a tall mountain to climb because from there, that would determine where I went next. I had already decided at that point in time that I did want to study medicine. But if I didn't get my grades, how was I ever going to get into university? So we left. I was immediately overjoyed. I was also very, very skinny, very, very thin, to put it mildly. So all of that started turning around. But what did I have to do? That entire holiday and holidays after that were spent transcribing notes from friends of mine, one particular friend of mine, more than most, and transcribing the notes so I'd have something to revise, something to have a touch point, something to do, because I had to get new textbooks, new everything. So you can imagine almost 3 years of school wiped out because I had nothing on which to hang it on. So I had this hook and I studied like a Trojan, and I was obviously happier and getting better. And my father actually wrote a note and he says, "Don't contact me again." So yeah, that was there, and I kind of didn't see him for maybe 40 years. That was okay, but I was happier. So I continued with my exams, and by the time I took the exams, a year and a half later, I had now become top of the class. I was getting wonderful grades, and we also had a national exam for which I came in third place in the entire country for government students, whether male or female. But I still remember it was a struggle. It was a time to get through, had to dig through inner resources and do what you need to do. And I hope that will show you that wherever you can, wherever you are, with support, you can get where you want to go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tayo, for sharing your story, for giving us a little sneak peek into what that foundation really looked like for you, how you were able to navigate a very difficult time in life, and what that looked like with family support, the love, and the people surrounding you in a time where you really needed them. It's also a true testament to what energy and vitality that you can create in your life when you focus on what is important. When you're there and you're doing the work, you're putting the time in and the energy in to create the future that you really want to see in your life. This is a great way for us to get a sneak peek again into who you are and what you've created in your life now, today. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being here and being a guest on the show and sharing a little bit about you.
It was a great privilege. Thank you for inviting me.
You are so welcome, Dr. Tayo. Thank you again for being a guest on the show. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience and maybe tell us how we might be able to reach you?
The best way to get hold of me is Facebook if you want to connect, and you can look for either Tayo D, Tayodeee, or if you put in the facebook.com, then you put a / Dr. Tayodeee. Thanks again.
Yes, great to have you, and there are links in the show notes. This is the end of another episode of the Audacious Path Show, a micro podcast. For more inspiration and to listen to all episodes, go to audaciouspath.com and click on podcast, or look for us on your favorite podcast platform. Just search for the Audacious Path Show, a micro podcast. Please remember, you are not alone and you are right where you are meant to be. Breathe in, and when you decide to do so, take the next step on your audacious path. Thank you so much for being here, and come and join us again next time. Here's to your audacious path.